That might have been the best, worst game of soccer I have ever watched. It was peak CONCACAF, halftime fisticuffs, the US getting away with a clear handball in the box, and goals galore, but only after you've sat through the entire train wreck masquerading as a soccer match. The US men's national team have successfully punched their ticket to the semifinals of the 2023 CONCACAF Gold Cup. They triumphed over our northern rivals, Canada, in a nerve-wracking penalty shootout, carving out a 3-2 penalty victory after a 2-2 draw. Today, we're delving into the most crucial moments, tactical battles, and player performances that defined the best-worst match I've ever seen at TQL Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. On the American side, Brandon Vazquez's 88th minute strike broke the deadlock, but an equalizer from Steven Vittoria from the penalty spot in injury time forced extra time. The drama didn't stop there, as Canada's Jacob Schaffelberg managed to steal the lead in the 109th minute off a deflected shot of Matt Miazga, and a twist of fate in the form of an own goal from Scott Kennedy, inadvertently set up by the US's Gianluca Busio, saw the match go to penalties. There, Matt Turner, the US Secretary of Defense, was a key figure in the shootout, posting two crucial saves. The US confidently converted 3 of their penalties, while Canada couldn't quite measure up and convert their 5th, thus sealing their fate and losing the match. From USA's perspective, a defeat to Canada could have placed a historic blemish on the US's Gold Cup record, marking the first home defeat to Canada since 1957 and their first exit at the quarterfinal stage since 2000. However, the US side demonstrated their determination, echoing the grit of the 2021 Gold Cup winning team, displaying assertiveness in the second half and generating the majority of goal-threatening chances. A noteworthy point on this game was the US's ability to bounce back from being a goal down in extra time, courtesy of relentless attacking pressure that resulted in the fortuitous own goal. The resilience displayed by the US team and Turner's proficiency in goal during penalty shootouts might be some of the most significant takeaways. From Canada's perspective, despite the disappointing outcome, Canada's performance during the match was commendable. As much as I hate to say it, they showcased composure and resilience, qualities that have characterized them during their World Cup qualifying journey, and an organized defense even under immense pressure in the second half. The tournament served as a platform for their young talent to shine, with many putting in performances that warrant future call-ups. Dane St. Clair's multiple saves, Ali Ahmed, and Schaffelberg's efforts deserve a special mention for Canada. The US men's national team now sets their sights on Panama for the Wednesday semi-final clash at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The winner will face off against Jamaica or Mexico in the final, currently scheduled for July 16th. Now let's go through each player from tonight and discuss stock up, stock down, or stock flat, starting with stock up. So the biggest winners of the night for me was Matt Turner. He was my man of the match, and despite being unable to prevent Vittoria's last-minute penalty and Schaffelberg's deflected strike, Turner's presence of mind and agility was pivotal during the crucial shootout. His resolute defense, marked by 2 monumental saves, steered the US towards a hard-fought victory. DeJuan Jones is my next winner. Jones's instrumental contribution was the impeccable cross leading to Vazquez's goal, his second consecutive game with a decisive assist. Although his passing wasn't always up to par, his overall performance further reinforced his positive contribution and impression on this team. Next up was James Sands. Sands demonstrated yet another commendable performance, proving his competence in the pivotal number 6 role. His ability to tidy up on-field disorder and move the ball efficiently has been a boon for the US in this tournament, and Sunday's game was no exception. Next up, and last but not least, Brandon Vazquez. Vazquez's entry made quite an impact playing in front of his home fans. He didn't falter when presented with a chance, scoring with a solid header where he thrashed it home. Even though the US couldn't close the game with that lead, his teammates stepped up, especially during the penalty shootout after his miss. Biggest stock down of the night by far was Ale Zendejas again. For Zendejas, it was another challenging outing. His gameplay seemed a step slower than the pace required, and for many times in a row, which raises concerns given that this was the 4th match of the tournament. He may have completely played his way out of national team call-ups for anytime soon. Bryan Reynolds is next on this list for me. His misplacement during Canada's extra time goal marked a significant lapse in an otherwise acceptable performance. Despite not having his best game on Sunday night, Reynolds has made a convincing case for his inclusion in this tournament. Jordan Morris is next on my stock down. He was introduced to be an impact substitute, but Morris made a negligible impact on this match, and at this point there are probably better options to try out in this position, but we do live in a vibes era and Morris tends to provide that that to this squad. Jalen Neal might be controversial here on the stock down list. There were a few significant slip-ups and errant passes that fortunately didn't cost the team, but Neal was not at his best this game. He's young, and you could tell he was nervous. We know him to be better than this. He is capable of exemplary passing and quickness in defense, but they weren't necessarily on display last night. Miles Robinson, despite a generally impressive performance, marked by some finely struck long balls, his unintentional handball unfortunately put the US on the back foot, and this was also his second handball of the match, and with a different ref, Robinson could have easily been at fault for 2 penalties. So despite his good performance during the run of play, giving up 2 penalties, I'm putting him in the stock down category. On to stock flat. Djordje Mihailovic is one where, although his performance did not meet the standards that he himself had set for earlier in the tournament, he still delivered a reasonable game. Despite bearing the brunt of the match's physicality, receiving several fouls and returning some of those, he was unable to find his rhythm in this match. Jesus Ferreira did not get his 3rd hat trick in a row, and while he didn't find the net, he had his fair share of impressive moments in the build-up. The arrival of Brandon Vazquez re-energized him as well, allowing him to adopt a more fluid position deeper in the pitch. If anything, his second half performance further solidified the calls to play him as a number 10 in the attacking midfielder role. Matt Miazga was noteworthy for a few solid tackles, but his key contribution was in the build-up to Canada's 2nd goal. He allowed Jacob Schaffelberg a little bit more space than he was intending, which led to a slight deflection and the goal. Aaron Long had a relatively quiet game and played fine. I don't have too much else to say here on Aaron Long and his saga with the national team. I would have rather seen another defender on this roster, but here we are. We have the roster and we got to play him. Roldan was introduced in the game as the US sought to overturn the deficit. Roldan served as a makeshift right back as well during the final moments, and similar to Aaron Long, he was okay. Cade Cowell was very close to being on my stock up list. He brought an invigorating energy to the match, and although the end product was slightly lacking, still credit goes to him for injecting some dynamism into the match, which we were completely lacking. His spot kick conversion is a crucial moment for the rising star as well in the penalty shootout, and he just didn't do quite enough with his attacking moments to get into that stock up category. Another one that was on the cusp for me was Julian Gressel. Primarily in the lineup for his crossing and set piece abilities, Gressel was marginally off his usual mark. His contribution from open play wasn't notable enough to put him in the stock up either. Gianluca Busio also in this category. He found himself in the thick of it in the first half's frenzied play, and I thought he struggled with that. But in the second half, he showed more and more composure and crucially instigated the own goal that brought the US level deep in extra time. His execution as well during that penalty shootout was sublime. And as far as the coach BJ Callaghan goes, his performance, he remains undefeated. The manager might need to reconsider his lineup strategy, particularly concerning the wingers here and what we're doing with Ali Zendejas. He was a bit late to recognize this, but he does deserve commendation for deploying Vazquez and Ferreira together as the match progressed. The US now will take on a solid Panama team that will be licking their chops to meet us in the semifinal. That match is Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing to the channel as it lets me know to make more content like this. And if you want to see me debate the US men's national team striker pool with Sam Stokes of the Yank Report, watch this video next.